In an all-new interview, Cal tells me shock would be an understatement when police put him in handcuffs and charged him with murder. And it doesn't help Cal's case that his marriage to Michelle at the time of her disappearance was in shambles.
Beautiful wife and mother Michelle Harris vanished into thin air. Her family van found abandoned at the end of the family's driveway. Cops quickly zeroed in on her wealthy, soon-to-be ex-husband, Cal Harris, as the prime suspect. And investigators found their smoking gun in the family's garage.
Where was the blood spatter?
In this area right here.
Blood in the kitchen.
There were 4 or 5 stains that the detective found. One was down here on this molding. There were 3 or 4 more stains in this area here.
Some spots matched the family dog. Cal says only 3 of the stains came back to match Michelle.
One stain, sub-millimeter, red stain, came back positive for human blood and Michelle's blood in the house. One stain came back positive for Michelle's blood on the throw rug, and one stain came back positive for Michelle's blood in the garage.
Reportedly, 6 drops of Michelle's blood were found in the kitchen and more in the garage. But Cal claims the investigation was compromised from the beginning.
The investigation of this case falls strictly on the shoulders of Sue Andrews Mulvey, the lead investigator on this case. She had a conflict of interest. Her father used to work for me. I fired him, and from day one, she wasn't looking for Michelle, ever. She was coming after me.
You feel you were targeted?
Absolutely.
Sue Mulvey did not respond to calls regarding Cal's specific accusation. But 4 years after Michelle's mysterious disappearance, investigators made their move, arresting Cal Harris and charging him with second-degree murder.
I kept asking my attorney at the time, I go, why now? Is there any new evidence? Did they find something? I mean, is there something we don't know about? And he didn't have an answer for me.
Jury selection began today for the Cal Harris murder trial.
How confident were you going into the first trial?
I thought it was going to be an acquittal. I mean, there's no body, there's no weapon, there's no witness, there's no confession, there's nothing.
Tioga County District Attorney Gerald Keene felt he had enough, arguing that Cal killed Michelle with a blunt object in the late hours of September 11th and disposed of her body.
And so what they're claiming is the event occurred right here in this area.
Somewhere here. She comes in the door, she walks in, she's facing this way, and that supposedly I attack her from behind. And that I strike her in the head once, she falls to the ground, I strike her again, that's where the spatter comes from, she's incapacitated, and then somehow I've got to get her around this door and, drag her out here. It makes no sense to hit somebody hard enough to incapacitate them to the point where they're dying or dead. You can't do that without having massive amounts of blood.
Prosecutors disagreed and brought in famed forensic scientist Dr. Henry Lee, who consulted on the O.J. Simpson case and John Benet Ramsey case.
Dr. Henry Lee looked at the photographs in front of the jury and said, these red stains are, quote, vivid red. And therefore, in my opinion, they're 2 to 3 days old.
Prosecutors claim Michelle's blood in the house was fresh, and they pieced together a picture of other circumstantial evidence. Cal's controlling behavior, the contentious divorce, and his demeanor after Michelle went missing.
What would you say to the people who are thinking you had the motive? You may have wanted to get back together with her, you found out she had a couple of boyfriends, there was jealousy, there was rage.
The quote money that I was going to have to pay her was my offer to her, which I knew I could handle. I knew she had one boyfriend. I didn't know until the trial that she had multiple simultaneously boyfriends. So there's no motive for me.
Would the jury agree? After a 2-week trial, the long-awaited verdict: guilty.
I was devastated. It was just horrible.
But devastation quickly turned into elation, literally the next day with an absolute bombshell. 6 years after Michelle went missing, Kevin Tubbs, a local farmer, came forward saying he saw a blonde woman and a younger man, not Cal, arguing at the end of the Harris driveway near a dark-colored Chevrolet pickup truck on the morning of September 12th. It blew the theory that Cal killed Michelle on September 11th. Many wondered why Tubbs waited so long to come forward, especially the prosecutor.
I have problems with the credibility and the veracity of Mr. Tubbs.
But Judge Martin Smith believed Kevin Tubbs, immediately throwing out Harris's conviction and ordering a new trial.
And I'll never forget it. He turns to me and he points to the sheriff sitting next to me. He says, "Release him. He's free."
What did you think that day?
I just started bawling. It was just a flood of emotions.
Cal was ecstatic. Michelle's family was livid.
Would you have hoped for something different?
Naturally.
It wasn't over. Both sides prepared for a second trial. This time, Cal took the stand in his own defense. This time, the defense argued that the blood evidence was faulty. Neither worked.
Guilty. That's the verdict jurors handed down to Cal Harris after 10 hours of deliberation.
Michelle's family and friends breathed a sigh of relief.
Just justice has been served.
We got justice. I won't bring her back, but we got justice.
Cal Harris was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison.
That really hurt. That really hurt.
Are you seeing your kids every week?
Yes, they would come up on the weekends for visitation. And the hardest part was at the end of the day when they were going to go home and I was going back to my cell. That was the hardest part.
But after 3.5 years behind bars, unbelievably, another bombshell. On appeal, Cal Harris's second murder conviction was thrown out, the court ruling that he did not receive a fair trial. When Cal was told,
I fell to my knees.
2 convictions thrown out. Was it just lady luck, or was Cal's good fortune about to run out? Coming up, prosecutors are determined.
They were trying to break me.
But a new defense team unearths never-before-seen possible evidence in a backyard burn pit.
They had bloody clothes on, and they asked him to burn their clothes.
Was the wrong man targeted for murder?